Thank you, everybody. Welcome. This is a Canary Orca-stra. 2 years ago, in February 2020, I got a grant from King County for Culture, which is an artist grant organization that seeks to provide funding for artists in marginalized communities who are creating art by and for artists in marginalized communities. And as someone with a mostly invisible disability now, um, I sought to create music and educational events that raise awareness and support people to take action to heal Mother Earth and what's going on in the distressed ecosystems of what's going on in Earth and what's going on in our bodies. And so I got a grant in February 2020. What was just about to happen in February 2020? The lockdown. But my intention for this project was to have an orchestra of strings players play at Lime Kiln State Park for the orca whales. Whether or not they showed up, we were going to try to arrange that. But we were going to film that and have workshops on how...
Your echo's on.
Yes, how everybody can support Indigenous-led activism to remove dams and make sure that we are not only keeping in mind justice for Indigenous communities and everyone who is affected by the wounds of colonization, including the orca whales, salmon, humans, everybody. So we're having this event on Zoom. It's not the same as having it at Lime Kiln State Park, which is one of my favorite places, but I'm so honored to have this event still, and so honored that Jay Julius, former chairman and council member of the Lummi Nation and on the board of Cecilia, am I saying that correctly, Jay? Cecilia is here going to share some about how we can support the totem journeys, and we're going to be listening to whatever you have to say in how we can support your amazing work. And we also should have Isabel Friend, I'm not sure if she's here yet, to talk about what she's learning about water health and river health and why it's important. And we're going to be premiering 3 songs that I wrote that are all themed around a conversation with land and water, a conversation with the human body and soul and spirit, and conversations between the disabled community and not, survivors of sexual abuse and not. And so trigger warning in terms of if at any point this evening we talk about sexual assault and other forms of traumatic wounding. Just want to make sure that you know that some of those topics may be mentioned tonight and sung about and violined about and celloed about by Karenza and David. Sometimes the best way to process these very difficult issues is through music and not just talking. So we'll be having a mix of singing and talking tonight. And we are here to raise funds to support Cecilia. And so in the chat, we have a couple ways that you can donate. I have 2-tier goals. One tier is $333 by the end of this event at 8 p.m. We already have a bunch of people who before the event started to Venmo me donations, so thank you so much. And so I'm going to be compiling all of the Venmo donations because there isn't a way of donating online to Cecilia right now, but I'm going to be compiling all of those donations, and all of them 100% go directly to Cecilia. I'll be writing them a check with all of yours, or you can PayPal, or if you prefer to send a check directly to them, then you can do so, and that info is in the chat. And the second tier is $555. If we raise $333, then I'm going to play at the end of the night a song about puppies. And if we raise $555 at the end of the night, I'm going to take a vote of 3 different topics in the chat, and I'm gonna have to make up a song about whatever topic you choose. So we'll fundraise what we can. Thank you so much.
Do you want to be on speaker view for the sake of the recording?
Sure, go on speaker view. And everybody, if you can put in the chat land acknowledgements of Indigenous people whose land you're on. And I am currently in Joshua Tree, California area, which is of the Cahuilla Serrano people and many others, and Mojave. And I go by she, her. My name is Kaeley Pruitt-Hamm, and my band name is KPH and The Canary Collective, because we are all canaries in the coal mine singing to get out of this toxic situation we have. So I'm going to play one more song, and then I'll introduce Jay, and Jay, the floor will be yours to talk about the work. I just wanted to make sure everybody was filing in, and then once we got everybody settled, very excited to hear what you have to say. And so I would like to call upon and acknowledge and have so much gratitude for all of the ancestors who've come before, and we're just these privileged people on planet Earth in human bodies right now who are getting to figure out how we can live more harmoniously together. I'm so grateful for Mother Earth, and I'm so grateful for everybody here who a small group of dedicated citizens have the power to bring about the change that we all need. This song is called Believe Her, and continue to say hello and say hi in the chat, and submit questions, comments. I would love for this to be interactive. Believe me. Believe me. Believe me. Believe me. Woman, come to me, hoping for answers, crying for help from something that's like cancer. But I look inside you, I search for invaders. Probably your own heart is the real traitor. You say that you feel touched, affected all over. A scratch on your shoulder is where that he cost you. Your boundaries are broken. Why not say no then to games of red rose? be dreaming of me. And based on the actions, from what I can see, you're overreacting. The world's looking perfect to me. He was a good man with a good family. That he would do bad things is so hard to believe. Believe, 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 believe. You never give up, well, turns out it happened. You took down a man on his throne with your passion for truth and redemption. How can we repay you? Just keep an eye on kings so they don't play, believe me. Believe me. Thank you. So this is the 2-year anniversary of my album release. Oh, look what we have here. Also in February 2020. It was a hopeful time. I released an album that I also made with the help of a grant from For Culture, and all of the money is going to my medical bills. Don't worry, it's not going to fancy recording equipment. But this album called The Canary Collective Volume 1 is a collection of voices of other canaries with chronic illness who were misbelieved in doctors' offices, in courtrooms, who have chronic mysterious illness that are sending warning signals about how much our bodies are reacting to all the environmental toxins that are in this world and all of the stress that's going on. But the modern medical system is not really acknowledging it fully or giving us resources to deal with these illnesses in which our livers are struggling and our guts are struggling, and we're having all kinds of issues from, not clean water. And that album has a version of Believe Her on there. And it's also for all of the animals, like the orca whales, who are having liver damage from all the pollutants and are starving because there are not enough salmon flowing from the rivers which are dammed up into the Salish Sea, for example. So the southern resident orca whales, who has ever seen some southern resident orca whales or is in that area? I know that Jay and Kurt have, and Robin. So we love them, and the honeybees who are getting broken wing viruses from all the monocrop agriculture, the way that we make food, and the pesticides. They're feeling the effects of the Earth's ecosystem off balance. And when they go into the doctor's office, I bet the doctors are saying, no, there's no possible way your illnesses could be connected to a lack of salmon. No, there's no possible way your liver issues are from pollutants in the water. Everything that humans are doing is fine. So the orca whales and the honeybees and the salmon don't have Zoom as readily available as we do. So as Cecilia says is on their website, Cecilia seeks to be raising awareness about the Indigenous perspective and being a voice for the voiceless, like the orca and salmon and our ancestors. So thank you so much, Cecilia, for the work that you're doing. You were part of the Totem Journeys last year, and I just want to leave the opportunity for any business that people have been saying in the chat.
Just land acknowledgements.
Land acknowledgements. Thank you. Okay. Jay, are you ready? Yes. Okay, so Jay Julius, I would love to hear from you whatever you would like to share. So let me know what questions you would like for me to ask. But the questions that I had in mind is, what would you like people to know about how people can support Cecilia's work and the totem journey of the past and possible future? And if orca whales could speak directly to humans, what do you think they would say? And what do you think they would want us to know?
Thank you so much. You have a beautiful voice, and thank you for answering the call to share your gift with all of us. It's beautiful, and keep it up, please. Thank you for the invite. It's an honor. It's a privilege. My traditional name is Watatlam N. Slailton. I carry two names. My English name is J. Julius. Man, those are great questions. And I think I'll start with Cecilia. I want to acknowledge Mary Pruitt. We're brought up still today. My kids are brought up. We acknowledge our elders. We acknowledge and thank them. And we value you. And so thankful for you and our youth. Our youth is our future. Our hope. So Mary, thank you for being here, and all of the elders. I can't see anyone else on the screens. A lot of them are shut off, which is fine. Cecilia in our language means our grandmother. And for all of you women on this Zoom and anyone who watches this recording in the future, male or female, for all of us, no matter what culture, what our nationality is, our mothers are our giver of life. And there's not anything that I wouldn't do for my mother. There's nothing my son wouldn't do for his mother. My daughter wouldn't do for her. Our mothers are everything. Without mothers, we cease to exist. They're everything. And Cecilia, and I was fortunate to be raised by my great-grandmother, who died in 1980. When I was 5 years old. And she was born in 1888. And I was brought up by her and my great-grandfather, whose name I carry, Watatlam, who was born in 1892. And they were raised by individuals here where I am in Lummi Nation, Bellingham. They were raised by individuals pre-contact. So it kind of puts into perspective. We talk about orcas, we talk about the bees, we talk about salmon, we talk about rivers, and all we know is all we see, and all we know is all we learn from books and history books. But for us and for myself, I am so grateful and thankful to be raised by my grandparents, my grandmothers, Dora Williams, and my grandmother, Nancy, and then my mother, Doreen. Because they still hold on. They lived in two worlds, and I live in two worlds. I want so badly to be in the world 6 generations ago. But it really puts it into perspective that I hugged and was loved by my great grandmother, who was here in the 1800s, and so being brought up and being taught through oral teachings, it's different, and it's hard to create empathy. It's hard, and I mean not to offend anyone ever when I speak, so I apologize now if I offend anyone, but living in these two different worlds, and I think we're all here for a common purpose, and that is a concern for the future, a concern for our future generations, the climate anxiety that my children carry that we can't even begin to understand or even begin to fathom. That anxiety that they carry for their future as far as the climate goes, it's scary for them. And putting into English words and creating that empathy is for me has been a challenge. I served 3 terms as an elected leader for my nation, and then Kurt and I have moved forward with Cecilia, a nonprofit organization, and we focus solely on the giver of life, which is for you and I, Earth. We cease to exist without Mother Earth, our ultimate giver of life. That is all of our giver of life. We destroy our veins, which are the rivers. We destroy the ocean, which is the largest body on this earth. We are the miner's canary. You're right, I agree. But for us and for my grandmother, the near extinction that my people faced and many Indigenous communities throughout this country have faced, it's still going on today. And we are hosting and doing a totem pole journey starting May 3rd through May 20th, starting in the Salish Sea and going up to the Snake River. But it's more than just a totem pole. The totem pole carries prayer, it carries good thoughts, it carries so much at every single stop, from here into Portland University, the university in Oregon, and then all the way up the Columbia River, we make stops, Seattle. And as we stop at different places, people come and join in ceremony and pray. But really, that's a lot of what a totem pole journey is. It's not about a pole. It's about coming together as one, as a people, coming together and praying however you pray, sharing good thoughts, however you share good thoughts. And what we find on these journeys is, especially with the Indigenous communities and the places we stopped and tribal nations, is really a humble battle cry that they're going extinct. Even today in 2022, as a people, myself as a salmon people, I'm going extinct right now as we speak. Something that we have done since time immemorial, since we were placed here and we were gifted with salmon, and the waters were our highways and the rivers were our everything. We drank from them until only 16 and a half decades ago, we entered into the treaty. Our world completely changed. And I understand progress, I understand development and all of that, but we can look at history in Europe, we can look at the struggles of queens and leaders way back 800 AD, trying to protect and save and make sure the salmon were saved and the rivers were protected. But once those protectors were gone, things changed. Great cities were built, and then they decay, and then they erode because the resources are destroyed. Rivers are destroyed. Salmon are extinct in Europe. East Coast, they're extinct. And it's making its way west. And that's really where we're at. And the near extinction of salmon people for us in this particular totem pole journey, it's getting the message out and attempting to create empathy in the English language. And doing that, coming from two different worlds, is always a challenge. But it's getting easier. All of us are Indigenous. Kaeley, you're Indigenous. Malia, you're Indigenous. Elka, you're Indigenous. David Davidson, you're Indigenous from somewhere. From somewhere, you are Indigenous. And our philosophy is that we still hold on. I'll just speak for myself and my family and who I was brought up by. We still hold on to that. We still hold on to those philosophies and that being one with. Nature is not something we go visit. We live with nature, and nature lives within us. It's not separate. There was no divorce that took place from. And whenever that divorce took place, it severed a relationship, it severed a relatedness. Because if we view everything that has happened and everything that's going to happen in the future and everything that got us to where we are today, if we viewed Earth as our ultimate giver of life, we wouldn't create policies that destroyed our mother, that injected her with cancer, and has created this rapid death, which we inevitably die and cease to exist in the future if we continue down this path. It doesn't take any more science to figure this out. It takes common sense. It takes relationship. It takes a youth's voice to really share with us that common sense sometimes. But that's what Cecilia is. It really focuses on our mothers, our grandmothers, their philosophies, and their they're givers of life, and that's how we see it, and that's what our philosophies and our beliefs are. It's not something that's scientifically proven, or we don't need science, but we need to marry science and ceremony, science and common sense, science and we need to marry these together in order for us to have a good future for our future generations. And I think that's why we come together. And that's what Cecilia hopes to do. And we attempt that in the English language. We can Google environment right now, and you'll find 3 different definitions or 5 different definitions. You can look up climate in the English word, and it's going to have multiple definitions. You can look up climate change, and it has multiple definitions. But for us, it's relationship. For us, it's way of life. And as we invite ourselves back to that oneness with, I think, as we gradually move back to that oneness and not allow that severed relationship to continue from this day forward, I think that's when we see real change, and we start encouraging policymakers to, and I know it's hard, but we can change. It's only been I'll speak only for here, 16 decades. It really puts it into perspective. I've been here more than 25% of the time that our world turned upside down. And we have time. We can change. What existed for thousands of years, this perfect garden, absolutely perfect. The newcomers arrived and said they got here and there was nothing. And we would argue, if we could speak English at that time, we had everything. Everything. Health. Living over 100 years old was normal. And I believe we can get back there. I believe, I hold on to hope. I hold on to our future generations because they carry something that those of us my age, again, can't begin to fathom. We can call it climate anxiety. We can call it anxiety for their future. And we can't really begin to fathom what they're going through, what they're living through right now, and how that must feel. So the totem pole will go from the Salish Sea up to the Snake River. We will stand and speak to the common purpose of Salish Sea. You have the orcas, the southern residents. We witnessed Telaqua push her baby around for 17 days. She was speaking, and she was speaking clearly to all of us, all of us. She was crying. And I think we're all grieving. I'm grieving. It was brought to my attention that I am in a grief right now, personally, around all of this stuff. And I never viewed it that way, but someone said I might think about that. You're in deep grieving right now. And it is a challenge. But we have to move forward. And Kaeley, you mentioned the struggles of these mysterious things. I too have that. I have 3 of them in my home, and we're going through it now. And it's head scratching. It's challenging. It's especially for the kids. We've lost loved ones young, and it's real. I'm a testament to that, and my family's a testament to that. And but moving forward, I think we have to reflect on the past. And at Cecilia, we really do reflect on the past. We have to know where we came from in order to know where we're going. And yeah, I'm not sure how much time I had. I think I had till 6:45, and I'll just stress again that if there's anything I can leave with everyone here, this isn't about, thank you so much for the fundraising, and thank you so much for the orchestra, the concert and the singing. This is wonderful. But this isn't about money. The work is going to get done, and the messages are going to get out. There are so many generous and concerned and loving individuals who care for their children and are concerned for their children, who are partners, and there's just wonderful people out there who want to be a part of change. And that's all we are. We're a catalyst and a conduit for that. We can't do this alone. This is going to take a team, and there's other Indigenous-led organizations that are doing wonderful things, and we do nothing more but complement them. Some do production, some do storytelling, some share philosophies, and that's all we're here for, is to complement and help the work move forward. We have to collapse timeframes, like timeframes were collapsed to get us to where we are today. And we can reverse that. We've seen that it's been done. And we can go in a different direction. We don't have to stop everything we're doing, but we have to shift the rudder a little bit to get back on track. And it won't, and I believe we'll get there. We have to believe that we'll get there. In the southern residents, you guys are to us, they're not just whales. They're such a tight-knit community. They're for me, the greatest example of family. They're the greatest example of love. They hold the greatest ceremonies here with my family for hundreds of generations. Their ceremonies, when they come together, are unbelievable. And if you haven't seen it, you should find it online and watch it. They never flee the nest. They never leave each other. They stay together forever. That's who we are still today. We stay together. We have longhouses where, in villages still today, where multiple families live. That's who we are. And they taught us that. And the salmon are the greatest example of sacrifice. The salmon they sacrifice. They go on that 4-year journey, the sockeye, but then they come home and they make the ultimate sacrifice to give life, to be a giver of life. They die for the next generation. And now they can't go up those rivers. And Cecilia, my grandmother, and my great-grandmother, I'll stop with this. Whether we believe this or not, it was instilled with me at a very, very, very young age. And little things like throwing rocks on the beach with my great-grandma and her getting upset with me, that was her way of teaching. There was a moment to teach me something, to instill within me. I threw a rock and I broke it. And she grabbed my shoulders and she said, "Shame on you. You leave my rocks alone." Did you hear it cry when it split? Because it buzzed. I threw the rock, it hit another rock, it split and it buzzed as it flew away. But that stuck with me forever. And my grandma believed that even a rock has a spirit. And she told me that these rocks have the footprints of my ancestors for hundreds of generations. They know the story, they've heard the stories, they know the songs. They have a purpose, they have a spirit. But that goes for rivers too. What if a river does have a spirit? And the thing with these rivers is they're no longer rivers, they're lakes. They're controlled, they don't flow. The spirit of the river is almost killed. Everything within is dying. Salmon can't go back upstream to spawn, up the river to spawn. The June hogs are maybe extinct. The June hogs were 100, 115 pound king salmon. That's what the orcas ate forever until we got here. Now, none of us have ever even seen a June hog. But that was normal. That was normal here in our rivers. Now we're lucky if we get a 15 pounder and we're like, wow. Well, they used to be 10 times that size. And we've created a catastrophic disruption. And I think we can come together and we can make that change. Regardless of what our political views are, this isn't about red, this isn't about blue. It's not about what race we are. It's this garden. Whatever our belief is, who gave us the right to destroy this Eden, this garden, this perfect place for our satisfaction of whatever it is, our progress. So I think at Cecilia, we hope to share these philosophies, and on this journey, we'll open the floor to prayer, to testimony on philosophies, what the past once was, what the river used to be, what the river is now, the reality, if we keep going down this path, what does it look like? Again, I thank each and every one of you for this little bit of time to share a little bit about Cecilia, invite you to the totem pole journey. It's always a wonderful ceremony, journey, great people, great events where people come together for a common purpose. Thank you again. It's an honor, it's a privilege. Aishka.
Hi, Shika. Thank you. Thank you so much, Jay. I am feeling the grief as well that you speak of, and feeling hope because of the hope that you carry, and knowing that just it's been 16 decades and you have lived for a quarter of that since things really turned around at a difficult corner. That's a really great way of rephrasing things, because it can feel pretty hopeless. And I know that you and Kurt and so many have been involved in many struggles for justice. I don't want to say struggle, but in the coal mine at Cherry Point that was trying to be put in, and Kurt explained to me how you were up against just the the big, powerful, with money, powerful corporations and corporate lawyers, and still you were able to assert that the coal port wasn't put in. And so thank you for inspiring everybody with hope that we may be able to, even it's beyond money, it's about the spirit and community of us coming together. Thank you. And I know that you don't have unlimited time, but if you would like to stay through the next section, we'll be playing some songs for about 20 minutes. And as people are listening to the music, I would encourage everybody to share in the chat gratitude, as Elka is doing, for Jay and Cecilia's work, and also questions that you may have. And Jay might not be able to answer all of them, but after the concert, we could have a sort of discussion Q&A for a few minutes if anyone has burning questions. Would that be okay? Okay. And we will also be hearing from Isabel Friend, who is a water activist and is doing research on water quality and water health, and how the spirit of the rivers dying and basically turning into lakes is bad news for everybody. So
Kaeley, can I say something about this just
yeah.
briefly?
Hi, Kurt. I hear your
Yeah,
voice.
I want to. I work with Jay and Cecilia, and as I listen to him speak, I always get inspired. But I want to share two things, as I am a incorrigible optimist. Just the way I am, and I want to mention two things about why we're going to win, why the human spirit will prevail. I was with a Yakima today. I was on our board of Yakima Indian, and we were talking about a few things. And he said, "You know, I'm going to tell you something about the before time when everything was one kind of entity. Everything was one. And the coyote was a trickster. And the coyote was told, and this is what he said. This is the before time now. Was told to take down a dam. You have to take down the dam. And you know what he took the dam down with? An eagle feather. And the dams came down and the buffalo were freed. That's the first thing. It just takes a feather. Don't be fooled by the unwisdom of people with power. It's a trick. The second thing I just want to mention, Kaeley, because your music had me journeying. I was on a journey. I was traveling through these landscapes. Your voice reminds me of Judy Collins.
Thank you.
I was transformed in scenery. I was the scenery I was watching. And something occurred to me because you kept using the word love. We have done 60,000 miles of totem pole journeys. And every one of them is dedicated to the spirit of the movement that is going to prevail. And the one journey that comes to mind when you were singing was when we were coming back from Miami for the Kilauea Tokatai, who is imprisoned in an 80-foot diameter tank, and she's a Southern resident, and we are going to bring her home. Make no mistake about it. After 50 years, and we went to visit her to encourage her and say, "We're coming to get you. We're coming to get you." And so when Jewel James, the master carver, and his brother Doug were driving the big truck, and I was driving the SUV, and we're in Wyoming on a red road highway at sunset. And I looked up in the corner of the sky. This threatening sky was a patch of blue. And as God is my witness, in that square was written the word love. And it stayed there in that blue patch of sky like it was handwritten. That came from Tokatai. These things are real. And as long as people like you, Kaeley, and your tribe here as long as they keep the hope alive, we'll win. The human spirit will prevail. People like Jay Julius, who I've been working at Lumley since he was 3. It's a 3, right, Jay? 3. 3 years old is when I came to work with his people. And I have always been just absolutely inspired and awestruck by the power of the collective spirit to prevail. So we will prevail.
Yes.
This journey coming up, we will take that dam down. It will happen. And it will be with a feather.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Kurt. We so appreciate the work that you all are doing with Cecilia. And I know it's not about money, but I do want to share the good news. John has been tallying the donations that people have been pouring in because they're so inspired by Jay and Kurt's words. And we're almost to the second tier goal. $453.44 has come in the last hour. So thank you so much for the donations. And I do want to take you all on a journey as we listen to the songs. And then after the music, we'll have chances to keep the discussion going and hear from Isabel. But please write in the chat. As Jay said, we can, I can't remember exactly how you phrased it, but we can fold the timeline and really, what did you say?
Collapse timeframes.
We can collapse time frames. And so there are Ivy League scientists who are documenting the power of intention and how a group of people, even 5 people who get together at the same time, it doesn't have to be the same place, and we have our intentions and we imagine and we feel what it would be like to win justice for all and healing for the rivers and the sea and return back to the garden and not the corporate wounded earth. And so imagine what that world would look like if we were able to collapse time frames and fast forward and have that be now of us winning. And we collapse the Snake River dams with a feather, and the river's health is miraculously restored in a miraculous amount of time. It only takes 3 months, and then we see the salmon are huge, and the orca whales have more and more babies, and we have justice and health care for all, and people are healing their bodies and reconnecting with plant medicine and the ways that we can restore our food system. Right in the chat, little details of what the world would look like and what you would like to see as we're listening to these songs. And thank you again for, I guess I'm gonna have to sing a song at the end of tonight about a subject of your choosing. Maybe it'll be puppies, because if we can make it to the $555 goal, then you get to vote what I sing about. So I want to take you all on a journey this is what I see in my mind when I wrote these songs and when I play these next 3 songs that are featuring Karenza Peacock, world-renowned violinist who, when she's not busy leading the orchestra for Adele, she lends her violin and beautiful voice and violin to me. And cello by David Landau, absolutely amazing, witty, talented pun champion. Fun fact, and his birthday yesterday. So excited to share those songs with you. And so in this journey, I invite you to close your eyes if you would like. You don't have to. The first song that I play is called The Great Barrier, and I wrote it when I learned that There were a lot of barrier reefs that were dying. And the way that you can tell a barrier reef is sick is if it's formerly very colorful and all of the colorful fish, it starts to get bleached because of ocean acidification, because of the health of the water and pollutants and everything. It gets imbalanced. But can people above water, above the surface, see and feel that the ocean is sick? Can we bridge the great barrier between wounded humans who are on the corporate extractivist game to actually feel the grief of what we're doing, the consequences of our actions, and the great barrier of empathy? Can the doctors feel, can the corporations feel what's happening to the children of Flint, Michigan as the lead poisons their water? Can the corporations and the members of Congress feel what's happening to the 1 out of 2 people in the United States who has chronic illness, like fibromyalgia or Sjogren's or other autoimmune diseases or cancer? I would like to imagine that we can bridge this gap, and so that's what the next 3 songs are about. I imagine the ocean. This is a letter. This song is the ocean calling to the land, its land siblings. And she's singing, "Does she feel me go? Does she feel me go? Colors you once saw in me have given way to stories bleached." And then the journey pans to the shore, and we go to this sea cave, and we go into the depths of the cave, and there is a canary, a land sibling, who is trapped in a cage in the cave, and she is longing to get out. This is also a metaphor for my body wanting to get out. Me as a survivor of sexual assault, and the ways that my body has been screaming with its many different storms and its many different ways that it tries to get my soul's attention. And the many different ways that Mother Earth is calling with storms and fires and acidification of her waters. But this canary breaks out of the cage, and she's in open air, and she flies, and people on the land say, "Wow, you just got your freedom. Why are you swimming back to the ocean? You should enjoy your freedom on land. Don't keep flying, just land and relax." But she says, "No, my sea siblings are in that oil spill. Don't you see it? It's coming to the surface. Without my justice, there's no peace. I'm swimming back now. And I'm going to make sure that there's justice for all, even for those whose pain we can't feel because it's still under the surface. And we can heal. There is hope." Thank you for everybody who is... Oh, and I also wanted to share in the chat some amazing additional music. I'll remember to do that after. So I'm going to share my screen. Please let me know in the chat if you cannot hear or see it very well.
never knew her gardens grew. She led me through. Oh, she knows the ocean flows at her toes. Does she feel me go? The summers who once kissed my feet no longer fly like your brave dreams. A trinket of my memory, sweet song they left that they can't keep. Colors you once saw in me have given way to stories bleached. Horizons break, you're on my beach, you're digging sand, you cannot see my breeze, green and blue, me and you, make something true. I think we do. 'Cause without you, I never knew how gardens grew. She led me through. Oh, she knows the ocean flows at her toes. Does she feel me go? Oh, she knows the ocean flows at her toes. Does she feel me go? 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 Does she feel Does she feel me go? Caught in a cage, words go tapping sand to sand. Bodies of rage filtered through your hidden hand. But, oh God, she was trying to tell me something. Slow thoughts, but you bent them to sound like nothing. I followed while you just borrowed. Did you think I wouldn't notice? Did you think I wouldn't care? Did you think I'd never find what's buried there? After all this time, I'm here for my share. I'm out of the cave, I'm in open air. There were so many clues slipping right under my nose. I put two and two
Thank you. Thank you for listening. I just played that, clearly. That was pre-recorded, but I can't wait to play with Karenza and David in person. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody. The donations for Cecilia still have been pouring in, and we've well surpassed our goal of $555 tonight. Thank you. So I want to invite Isabel to speak after I've definitely expressed my feelings about water and land. And I know that people are writing in the chat more about what they want to see in the world, like children growing up learning about wild foods and hearing the voices of the lands where they dwell. Yes. So keep on writing what you want to see in the world, and then also if you have questions for Jay or Isabel or me or Karenza or David or anybody, would love to discuss. Does anyone have anything burning that they want to say? I guess you can say it in the chat. But yeah, Jay, do you have anything that you would like to add to what you previously said before Isabel speaks?
Well, if and this isn't fair to everyone else here, it's really about everyone here, and but I'm selfishly gonna take the microphone and make a selfish request to you. Actually, you said if that number was surpassed, just hearing your those beautiful songs, and it strikes emotion, and it's just it's powerful. It's really, really powerful. And thank you again for sharing your gift, and then being a voice for the voiceless, and being passionate about that. Thank you so much. It's not easy. I hate being labeled a tree hugger, but that's okay. But I'm not. I'm just one. We're just one with. And it's hard to fathom. It's hard to put into words, but being labeled for being that voice sometimes gets hard. Early on for me, it did. It really upset me. It doesn't bother me so much anymore. But I would, if you can't do it tonight, if more people want to hear you sing about dogs, that's totally fine too. But maybe in the future, I did a TED Talk in 2014. And I was invited to speak at this, and the topic was Our America. And they asked me what I was going to title mine, and I titled mine Sacred America. And what I wanted to do is take people on a walk, a journey back in time. But what's interesting about this and what you're sharing, Kaeley, is what nobody knows other than Kurt and a few in my community is I lost a daughter who was 5 years old shortly before I did that talk. So I wasn't all there mentally. And it goes, and I'm not going to go into that, but it's one of those mysterious things that you spoke about early on. But I would love to hear your perspective on Sacred America. Is our Sacred America today, this wonderful America we live in today, is that, and would that be what we would want to hear your voice singing? Or is it when we are in harmony 1,000 years ago and all one with? And the trees gave us wonderful oxygen, and the rivers nourished us with clean water, and the streams were nourishing us with clean water. and everything was alive. The orcas were healthy and alive. The salmon filled the river so full that you could walk across the backs of them. And that is not a myth. That is documented by newcomers when they arrived here, that the rivers were so full. So what does that look like? And it might not be something, I believe you can do it, but I don't want to take away from the audience. But that's what comes to mind as I hear you sing about the barriers and the spills and your spill relief. And that's what's on my heart. That's what's on my mind is what is our sacred America? What is yours? Is it now? Is it what the future holds? I have a friend who, and Cecilia is actually working on this, and we had a generous donor about a week ago, fully fund the acquisition of the land to bring one of Cecilia's, what we're going to be able to do, I heard you share, we're going to be able to take children back in time. We're going to be able to take everyone here. We're going to be able to teleport them back in time so that we don't just read about it, but we can have the full-on experience of, oh, wow. And I like to relate it to James Cameron in Avatar. James Cameron told my story in protecting Huachiacan, the sacred site, the burial grounds, my ancestors, the cemetery, from 52 million tons of coal being piled on top of it and shipped across the sea to China. He told my story, but he was able to create empathy for an alien from everyone. He created empathy when the US came in and bombed their sacred tree and they wanted to extract the resources. That was my story. That was the Sioux story. That's the Seminole story. That's the Nez Perce story. That's the Columbia River and the Snake River. That's their sacred tree. The Salish Sea is the Orca's sacred tree. It's all connected. Belonging. Do we belong here more so than everything that was here since the beginning of time? Anyway, I am going too deep. I just wanted to plant that seed that is what is on my heart after hearing you in your beautiful voice and in your team there, sharing that wonderful music with us. What is our sacred America?
Thank you. I'll have the Orca-stra on it. That's our assignment. Yes, thank you. I put your TED Talk in the chat so people can see that, and I am so sorry for your loss of your daughter. And Isabel, thank you for being here and being so patient. I would love to hear from you. Isabel is involved with water rights activism around the world, and she not only is involved with scientists who are studying water, and she's her own researcher, but she is involved with a couple of coalitions and really mixes, learning spiritually about the spirit of water. And since Cecilia's totem journey of this May is going to be themed around the spirit of the river, I wanted to invite another perspective of Isabel. Why is it so important to have rivers not be dammed? What's the deal? And anything else you want to share?
Well, thank you so much for inviting me. I'm honored to be here and to be a part of this. And everything that Jay has said has just been so beautiful and touched me so deeply, Jay. I love how you truly speak from your heart and from your soul. And that's just so felt by everyone here. And Kaeley, your music just gave me chills. So yeah, I'm really happy to be a part of this. In terms of why we shouldn't be damming rivers, I mean, this could be days and days worth of deep dive, but really, if I've learned anything about water, it's mostly that, or at least about water in our environment, water in ecology, water in nature. It's that there's no difference between the water inside of us and the water outside of us. what water in our environment we do to ourselves. They're so intricately interconnected. And so when we're considering dams in particular, it's just like you're getting a blood clot in a vein or an artery, because the rivers of Mother Earth they're not just her veins and arteries, they are our veins and arteries. As within, so without, as above, so below. So what happens when we get a blood clot? Well, one of the main things that happens is it lowers oxygenation levels in your blood. It lowers the oxygenation level in your circulation. And it's the same thing that we see with a dam. It lowers the oxygenation level of the water, and it puts off noxious gases like methane gas. In fact, large-scale hydropower dams actually put off more greenhouse gas emissions than even the largest and dirtiest fossil fuel plant, which is kind of counterintuitive, right? A fossil fuel plant would put off more greenhouse gas emissions, but actually there's so much left in this nation of these rivers becoming lakes, as Jay was saying, that not only does it deoxygenate the water and the water can't breathe, the water is suffocating, the same way that your blood starts to suffocate when you get blood clots. Another thing that happens the same with dams as it happens in our bloodstreams is localized inflammation. If you get a blood clot in your body, you're going to have a lot of inflammation in that area. Inflammation is basically just heat, right? It comes from the Latin inflammatio, which means to set fire to. And so, when you have a natural, healthy river, the course is meandering back and forth, right? And every time the river switches direction, the spiral flow of the water also switches direction. So water in a river doesn't just flow in a straight line. She's actually spiraling through her course, spiraling through the stream. And not only does that keep the river clean by allowing sediment to be kind of spiraled out to the sides and build up healthy microflora and macroflora along the banks of the river, but it also keeps the water cool. As the water gets to the top of the stream, she's warmed up by the sun, and then she brings that energy from the sun down to the bottom of the stream where the water cools off, and then that solar energy can nourish whatever is living on the bank. So not only does she keep herself clean naturally, but she naturally regulates her temperature really well. Rivers, the healthiest rivers, stay really cool. And so when we dam a river, the water heats up and we get inflammation in that area. And that inflammation leads to more evaporation, eventual desertification, the drying of the entire watershed eventually. I mean, basically it just traps stagnant water that just heats up and inflames. Also, if you get a blood clot, you'll have effects in a downstream area of the body. That area of the body is not going to be able to receive nourishment from the bloodstream, right? And it's the same with the river. The fish and the ecosystem and all of the organisms in the river, they bring nourishment and they bring life downstream, and they're an integral part of the entire watershed. And so building a dam, the whole watershed suffers. And when watershed suffers, the whole hydrological cycle of that region. Just like the body is super interconnected, all of nature is interconnected. So there are so many ripple effects that happen from one dam that can manifest even at a spring site that is far uphill of the dam itself. And it can manifest downstream, or it can manifest anywhere in that hydrological area. There can be rain patterns that are thrown out of balance. So it's such a web. Hydrology is such an interconnected web, and what you do to water somewhere, you do to water everywhere. So yeah, and I think the last thing that I'll say about that is just that when it comes to dams, when it comes to anything that we do in our activism and in our work in the world, it's easy just to be heartbroken about what's happening, but also there's so many beautiful solutions. And I forget the gentleman's name who was speaking earlier, but we're going to win. Obviously, we've already won. It's already done. And so there's so many beautiful solutions coming about. So one of the solutions that I just want to bring to people's awareness real quick, instead of dams, there are these micro turbines. They're being used a lot in Korea and Scandinavia. And basically they just act on that spiral principle of the river itself. They act in alignment with the vortex of the river, where you just put these little micro turbines in the river, and they don't harm any of the fish or the organisms in the water. And they just passively harvest from the spiraling motion of the water. They passively harvest energy. So that's one of the many solutions to hydropower dams that we could look at instead.
Wow. Oh, I love the beautiful solutions. And it was Kurt and Jay who were speaking earlier about how we are going to win. Yes. Thank you so much. I love hearing Jay and Isabel and Kurt speak. It's just so, it's like I am so thirsty for just listening to you all the time. I wish that you could just be speaking all the time, but I know that a lot of you have.
That's how I feel when I hear you sing. Like I just have you singing to me all the time.
Well, you have podcasts and e-courses that people can listen to you. And Jay has the TED Talk and many podcasts in which Kurt and Jay have been interviewed. So if you want to hear more and keep the conversation going, we get to. You are a little bit choppy, Isabel, but were you trying to say something and I was stepping over you?
No, the last thing I tried to say was just that that's how I feel when you sing, that I want to hear you all the time.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I do have a little hopeful story before we close with any questions, and actually we'll go questions and then I'll close with story and song. But we at the end of this, I will create a sound healing scape for you all with the principles that I'm learning about frequencies. And so I invite everybody to imagine the spiral of the water moving with the sound, and with the sound frequency of that's closest to the heart energy center in the body of the humans. And that key is F. And there are studies showing that it can be good for our health, actually, to have sound. You know, the music can be medicine. So I hope that we can mix all of the beautiful solutions that we have. Elka says, thank you so much, Isabel. I did know that I had a question from Elka that I saw for Jay. Elka says, Jay, I'd love to hear if you personally have any particular method of assisting the collapsing of time.
Just do it. That's kind of my Nike's slogan, and that's what I adopt personally. I don't overthink things. I don't and when Isabel and Kaeley and my son and myself and Kurt and anyone else, when we believe in something or are passionate about something, or know that we have a responsibility, a called duty to do something, it makes it that much easier. But one I guess analogy that I think about, or that really got me thinking about collapse timeframes, is a lot of studies, and we go to school. One example of collapsing timeframes, or reflecting on how things have changed so drastically in the world we live in today, is for, I believe it was a 50-year period, vinyl records employed 100,000 United States citizens for 50 years. And then overnight, those jobs disappear because of what? And then the manufacturing of what replaced vinyl records, that disappeared, and then you had compact discs, and that window collapsed to like this big, where it was this big, and then it this big. Now we're living in a time right now where the windows are so small and things are changing so fast. And we can relate this to water, we can relate this to economics, we can relate this to technology, virtual reality, compact discs, to MP3. Now everybody's got it, and cell phones and technology. So timeframes are collapsing before our eyes, but we can we can reflect on that, look at that. In my opinion, this is how I view it, and we can reverse it. We can collapse timeframes, and I think, well, I know that youth, and this is no offense to anyone my generation, Kurt, anyone here, but youth have common sense. Youth's common sense hasn't been eroded yet through school systems, through college, through whatever it is we go through, and this way of life that we've adopted and has become the new Stalangen in our language, the new way of life. It hasn't been eroded. So for me, the hope is really in youth, because they hold on to that common sense. And if we, they're going to have an ability to collapse timeframes way faster and better, because they're the future policymakers. They're going to be able to reflect on policies that got the rivers to where they are today, the salmon in the condition they are today, the cancer rates at the rates that they are at today. And they're going to, we somehow as parents and as leaders and as activists and singers and elders need to share with them that past that got us to where we are today, in my opinion. And we can collapse timeframes now. You're doing it right now, Kaeley. Tonight we are doing it. You have great speakers. You have great individuals in the audience who have a circle of friends, a circle of influence. And I think this is where it begins. It always begins with this, but how do we just do it? How do we share? How do we share these philosophies and thoughts and the shift to create timeframes collapsing in a good way?
Can I say something?
Oh, Elka, you are very choppy. Could you write it in the chat? So sorry.
No, it's okay. It's not gonna really come.
Maybe if you turn off your video. No.
Okay.
Oh, now
Well,
it's
okay. But I'll tell you my stuff.
so sorry, it's not working. But we do see your chat messages, but I'm so sorry. It's so frustrating to not be able to be together.
Look at where we're at. We are all together.
We are.
There are some down in California, Shumash territory, Seattle, Bellingham, Lummi Nation territory, all Colorado. You know, to get us to where we are today, to be able to be together. I did that TED Talk in 2014, and I was so angered by an individual who talked about this moment right here. He talked about his 1-year-old daughter not having to go to college when she is of age to go to college. She will do it all through technology, through virtual reality. And it really upset me because he went before me and he contradicted. I wanted to take people back in time. I wanted to encourage people to embrace the past and hunger for that. He has since become a good friend of mine, and he is a virtual reality guy. But this is where you're able to teleport people back in time to understand and see and feel what once was.
Wow. Well, please, Jay and Isabel, let us know how people can stay in touch with you and support your work. Isabel and Jay, in the chat if you want to put your websites, or I can, or if you want to share your email, but I'm not sure if you want to do that. And I do want to share a link as well to someone in the audience. I'm not sure if she's still here yet. Janine Washington is an amazing musician, composer, organizer, artist, curator, activist, and she is from the LA area. And she put in the chat earlier what First Nations, I don't want to get it wrong, but she has amazing music that she has released this last couple of weeks. So
I'm here, hon.
hi, Janine.
I love. Thank you so much for this beautiful evening. Thank you for everything you're doing.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for offering your voice and amplifying the voices of so many women and beyond who are wanting to heal and go back in time and go forward in time. Oh, thanks,
That's
Isabel.
right.
So I just put Janine Washington's music links. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Isabel. Everybody can move and give the silent applause. And thank you, everybody, so much. We have raised, thank you, John. We have raised $671.44. Wow. And so those totem journeys, we can follow their routes by visiting the Cecilia website. And we'll be able to see when you might be passing through. And I know you're going to be in Seattle. So I know a lot of people are in Seattle. And I'm going to, because we raised above the $555 goal, as I promised, I am going to make up a song about a topic of your choosing. And should I can do the best I can imagining sacred America and the sacred tree for Jay in this song, but I will try to create a song, not just improvised tonight for you. Anything else that people want to put in there that you want me to try to include in this song? Malia is thinking. Oh, frog. Robin is showing the frog. So John is going to help moderate again. Sorry for the loud laptop. Can you hear me? Okay, is anyone writing anything else besides Sacred America and the Sacred Tree that they would like me, or puppies?
Oh,
Frogs?
Someone just added more or donated more, so we're at 771.
Woohoo! 771. Thank you.
I'm trying to find what people have added.
Okay, so how many people have heard the term sound healing? Yes. So when I thought of sound healing, I think of people with those crystal bowls, and they'll be in white robes, and they'll have necklaces, and they'll have like 10 bowls where they go, ooh. Is that what you think of too? So I got certified in using sound healing, like using the frequencies of those bowls, but with my voice, because I can't afford thousands of dollars worth of bowls. So the cheapest instrument right here. So just imagine that I have bowls, and I would like to invite everybody to draw a spiral of light water on their floor somewhere in their room. And that is going to be an alchemizing pure force. It's gonna flush down any of the wounds and pain that we're ready to release. And so as I'm singing, you can just imagine this garden hose of light water, and you're flushing down whatever you want to alchemize and compost. And then we're bringing in what we do want with the sound, with our intention, amplifying it from our hearts. And the heart frequency that often people across the world believe is most resonant with the heart is in the 341.3 hertz area, which is the key of F. So I'm going to be making this song in the key of F, so the intention goes out from our hearts.
Do you want to hear the other requests?
Oh yeah, okay, what are the other requests? What are you doing to me?
So, water that tree, food forest.
Water that tree, food forest. Okay.
The songs of the children.
Songs of the children.
Continuity of the sacred.
Continuity of the sacred.
Yeah. And then the voices of the past singing us forward.
The voices of the past singing us forward. Okay, we got a full song. I'll just read those out loud. I'm going to share with you one more story that means a lot to me. Ever since I was 5 years old, I started dreaming of orca whales. They would come to me in dreams, and the first couple times I had the dream, it was like I was floating above the water in the San Juan and Salish Sea area by Lime Kiln State Park. And I would land on the shore, and orca whales would breach, and they would come up right to shore and talk with me. And this started happening at least once a week. I had this dream. And so I would start to tell people in my dream, I have this dream. And I would tell people in my dream, this time it's real life. I'm meeting orca whales finally in real life. And then I would wake up. I kept having the dream every time. The orca whales are breaching above the surface of the water. I'm looking around to the amazed crowd on shore at Lime Kiln State Park, and I say, can you believe it? I have this dream all the time. And then I explain to everyone around me that this time it's real life, and then I wake up. But this time it's real life. And then I would wake up. And so I tried to make this happen. I went to Lime Kiln. I went when I was 19 years old, and I was like, finally I'm gonna see them from shore. Nope. So I would bring different people, and I would think maybe when the orca whales approve of who I bring, then they'll show up. And so I brought my boyfriend when I was 19. This is my true love. They'll show up when he does. No. Then I had my true love when I was 22, and I brought him. They didn't show up. I brought my best friend, Avery. We watched Free Willy together. Of course, the orca whales are going to show up when we go to Lime Kiln. We waited at the beach. I was waiting for them to pop up. No, they didn't show up. Then I brought my sister. Of course, it's my sister they're wanting me to bring. No, they didn't show up from shore. I got really sick. And I started to have this dream, but it changed one night. I had just moved to Washington, D.C. I was working as an environmental lobbyist, trying to shake members of Congress by their shoulders to say, please change your ways. Stop listening to the oil company lobbyists and listen to the orca whales and the bees and our human bodies that are screaming for change. And we were about to go to the People's Climate March, and my friend, Sweetwater Nanook, showed up to stay with me in DC in my apartment. But the night before she showed up, I had the dream, and the orca whales were nowhere to be found. I found myself on a canoe. That was new. Age 25, that's 20 years of the dream being the same, and then all of a sudden I'm on a canoe. And I go deeper, deeper, deeper into the waters, through all of the straits. Finally, they show up, and they say, you're gonna have to be looking for us harder in the next coming years. It's going to be harder to find us if you don't do something. And I told Sweetwater about the dream, and she said, oh yeah, those are my ancestors. People have that dream all the time when I come to visit them. She is a member of the killer whale clan. Her great-grandfather was one of the chiefs in Alaska. When I was 29, I finally chose when to go to Lime Kiln by myself. At that point, I was so sick, I had not driven a car in 4 years. I had been mostly bedridden. But I chose my first time trying to drive again. I drove the hour to Anacortes, and on the way as I was driving, I said, please, orca whales, I surrender. If you want to show up, that's great. If you don't, that's okay. But if you do, I'm asking from my heart, lead me to where you are. And I asked these people, do you know if there have been any orca whale sightings? And they said, yes, go to this one park. And I directed to that park with my GPS, and it said, turn left. Nope, my arms, my wheel was turning right. I don't know why, but it was turning right to a place I'd never been. I parked, I opened my door of my car, and I heard. And I looked out to the water, and there were the black dorsal fins coming out from below the surface. A storm was raging overhead. There were dark thunderclouds, but I ran out, and I said, finally, it's happening. And I turned to these men who were coming in on a dinghy boat. I said, finally, this is happening. I have this dream all the time. And then I woke up. Just kidding. It really happened. I finally, age 29, rendezvoused with them. The next day, I went on the ferry to Lime Kiln State Park. I got out and I saw these children running towards the beach. I opened my car door. They had just arrived at the beach. I brought my baritone ukulele and I ran out to the rocks, and they were swimming up near shore. And I said, if you can hear me, start breaching when I sing and I play a song. And as soon as I started singing and playing, they started breaching. And the next day, I went to have a Celtic soul piece retrieval journey. I arrived at this woman's house, and she said, The orca whales are swarming outside our house. You must have good orca whale energy. Afterwards, I said, I want to go to the beach where they are. She said, okay, take a left down this trail. That's where they are. I started heading down the trail. Nope. Started heading right instead. I got to a beach. I was alone. It was sunset. Orca whales showed up for the 4th day in a row at the exact moment that I got to rendezvous with them. Because I followed my heart and I followed my arms and not my mind. And I have not woken up. Sacred, sacred tree, sacred tree, sacred tree, sacred tree, sacred tree. Sacred tree, sacred tree, sacred tree, sacred and continuity and all of the other things you wrote in the chat. I did not cover everything today, but sometimes it's not with words. Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for donating. Thank you to Jay Julius and Isabel Friend and Kurt, Cecilia. People can unmute themselves and say goodbye and thank you. And
Thank you. Say bye.
Bye. I love orca whales. I love orca whales so much.
Me too.
I love you.
Your
Anna?
story was so amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
It was beautiful.
Thank you, Grandma.
I still don't understand how to send my check, but we can talk about that later.
Kaeley, you have a beautiful, amazing way of doing that singing bowl effect. And thank you for bringing all this wisdom together tonight.
Thank you, Kathy.
Hello, John. Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Yes, he just pasted in the chat the address to which you can send a check. P.O. Box
850.
And I'll email that out to all the attendees.
That's in Bellingham. 98228.
Kaeley,
Yes.
Jay and I went to an event in New York years ago about the orca whales. And there was a woman there singing. at this event. Her name was Paya.
Oh, yeah.
And I have only once been as mesmerized by a human voice as with Paya, and that is you. That's like, if diamonds could sing, they would sound like your voice.
Thank you so much.
And Kaeley Sweetwater is awesome. I met her some time ago during the Coalport fight. And I don't want to ruin your story, but I want to share something with you. You visited their home when you were 19, when you were 22. They were there every time.
They were.
They were there every time. And you showed up. You showed up to their home and they were there. They visited me and my daughter and my son last month. And they visited me a couple of weeks before that. And it was right there by where you're talking about, Lime Kiln. And it was actually in Mosquito Pass, where I've never seen them in my life. I grew up with them. I've seen them all my life since I was 2 years old, fishing the west side of San Juan with my father. But last month was interesting. I've never seen them in that shallow water. And they came right at us. They came right to my boat. And the noise you were making, I've got it on video. But yeah, and then over the summer, my daughter came out with me and they visited us in Lopez Sound. And my daughter videoed it. And as they went under my boat, the one turned its head and looked up at my daughter. At the same time, one went under my feet on the back of my boat. And it's amazing. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Kaeley, for sharing your story, your dreams. Those are a gift as well. And you showed up at their home. Thank you for that.
Thank you so much. I'm going to put in the chat my recording, the Canary Collective album, and anybody who, I mean, that's free. I have that as free for anyone to download, but if anyone wants that, I'll put that in the chat. Thank you again so much, Jay and Isabel and everybody, for your time.
Kaeley, I wanted to share as people leave, but I'm always in tears when you bring people together and when you use your gifts to really bring people together. It's so beautiful. And something that was coming up so much, and I hope I don't mispronounce this, but it reminds me of the Haudenosaunee Thanksgiving address that speaks to the just to the land, to the people, to the trees, to the water, to this awareness and gratitude of all of this. And something that is said towards the end is, and now our minds are one. And I think, Jay, you had mentioned too that, you know, we're all over, and even this is not blue or red or depending on state, because at the end, now all our minds are one. We're all coming together in this, and that just puts me in tears. So thank you for having the opportunity for all of us to be here in this communal gathering and connection. It's such a gift.
Thank you, Malia. Thank you.
Truly, Kaeley, honey, I've told you a million times, and I'll say it again. You have an angel in your voice, dear, and you just fly around bringing unity and love and healing to everyone. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Was that Janine? I can't see.
Yes, it was.
Thank you. Thank you. And you as well, your voice and I mean, if anyone feels like dancing after all these Zoom meetings of sitting on your butts, Janine has like some power pop dance music. Thank you, John. I've got to sit down where I have back support, but I'll hang around for anyone who wants to continue hanging around, but feel free to leave if you need to.
Ishka, everyone.
Can
Have a good night. Thank you.
thank you so much. How do you say your other name?
Watatlam Slailton.
And Slailton.
Yeah.
Oh, well done. Thank you.
Ishka.
Yeah.
Kaeley, before I go, I'll mention one little piece of history you might find interesting.
Yeah.
In the Lummi language, there are over 40 words for the name auntie. There's not one word with the meaning of famine in the Lummi language. The word didn't exist. It was one of the few places in North America famine was unknown among the Salish civilization. And now they find themselves in a world of scarcity. But the resilience is it's just seemingly inexhaustible. And I think that's the real inspiration. I want to thank you, Kaeley, and all your friends. Aishka.
Hishka. Thank you, Kurt. Hi, Malia.
I just want to stick around and tell you how much I love you.
This is the
So
after
amazing.
party.
You did such an so community of all of the chats of our technology. It's amazing.
Yeah, I can't, you're very choppy, but I heard community and challenges of technology.
I have quantum field and some still probably can't hear me, huh?
No, but I did hear quantum field. I'm getting some really
Yeah.
delicious keywords in the mix.
Actually, I'm excited to come sing with you.
I know Elka is Elka and Malia. I can't wait till we can all get together in the desert. 'Cause Elka does sound healing with her voice, and Malia has one of the sweetest, most powerful voices ever as well. So we gotta all harmonize.
Oh, amazing. So do you live here too, Malia? Where do you live?
I live in Los Angeles. Where are you?
Oh, I'm in Josh Tree.
She's in the quantum field.
Picking up all the little pieces. Well, I definitely want to come down soon.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about it so much lately. So
Well, I've been really wanting to I've been wanting to organize like a women's at Kaeley retreat. So maybe we could collaborate. I mean, hard with your situation with your disease, but maybe there's a way and still have an in-person event. Could be really awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, love to have an in-person event. Oh, Janine was just saying that she might be in the desert soon. Janine is in LA as well, and she, oh my gosh, Malia, you have to meet Janine. Malia is a musical theater nerd, fellow musical theater nerd, and Janine helped star in and write and produce Sweetland, this amazing opera. Hi, David. this opera in LA, the one that was like outside, and it happened at the very beginning of the pandemic. I don't know if you heard about it. It's like the founding of our country, of
Mhm.
the United States, as told through the voices of immigrants and Africans and people who are First Nations.
Mhm.
Awesome.
Wow.
Wow. So
Yeah.
inspiring.
Yeah, so
I'm a musical
So
theater
cool.
major too, so I'm a musical theater nerd as well.
Oh my gosh. I love it. Kaeley is my go-to person whenever I see something or I geek out about something. I'm just like, Kaeley, did you see Tick Tick Boom?
yeah. We're like, we don't talk about Bruno in your head too.
Oh,
Oh my
that's so
gosh.
great. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's wonderful. And yeah, Sweetland is still up online, I think, to view. So,
Yeah.
and my gosh,
Oh,
I think we may be in the running for a few Grammys.
Oh,
That's what I
wow.
heard.
How can I?
So fingers crossed.
it's on
Um,
Vimeo, right?
yeah, and if you go to the Industry Opera of Los Angeles of LA dot, I think at org or something, and look up Sweetland there, it'll tell you all about it. And I think there's a link
The Industry Opera.
of LA, I think.
Okay, perfect. I will
It,
do that.
Wow. Amazing.
I did buy it, so I paid, and I'm so sorry, but I couldn't get through all of it. I was like throwing up and crying for like
It's a lot.
so
Wow.
It's
but
really a lot. It's really a lot. But
really
I'm in the opening and in train 1 and train 2. I play the role of the guide. So it's a lot. It was a lot to do it live.
At LA State Historic Park. I'm just reading
Mhm.
about it now. That's so
Yeah.
beautiful. I love there's something, I mean, I know this park has been created a couple years ago, but I mean, every time I go, there's something about it that is so sacred. And I think because it's a people's park and also seeing a lot of indigenous art there,
Mhm.
I mean, every time I go, I just feel so grounded and it's so surrounded by the city.
Yeah,
I love
absolutely.
it.
Well, it is a site, where the people lived and, had ceremony and things. So there is that energy and that, the ancestors still there. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. So beautiful.
And I love it when Kaeley tells her whale story. I just love that story. I love that is a real experience for her. It's real, and I just I appreciate every time you share it because people need to hear that. You need to hear what what you're doing, and I'm so excited that so much support tonight
Mhm.
for the project.
yeah.
It's really great.
That it's so heartwarming. It was like trickles of like $5 and $15 too. Like
Oh
it was
yeah.
really really cool how many people and people who weren't able to attend too. So
There were a lot of big
Yeah.
there are a lot of big donations too, John says, but
Hooray.
I like to share about the people too. David is also in LA. Happy birthday if your birthday, David, and thank you so much for adding cello.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me. Yeah, my birthday was yesterday.
How was
I did it. I earned it. It was my doing.
Mm.
The addition of the strings was so perfect and so heart stirring. It was, thank you guys so much. Thank all of you but yeah, thank you, David, since you're here. Thank you so much for the cello. That's amazing.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So gorgeous.
Oh, we can hear you, Elka.
No.
I just changed to a hotspot, to my hotspot. I should have done that a lot earlier.
Oh yeah, that's great. That's so clear.
Well, do you want to hear about the quantum thing, my quantum experience now that you can hear me?
Yeah, thank you,
Okay.
David.
Okay, bye, David. Thank you.
And did Robin or Janine have anything else to say that you were just waiting for a little? Just wanted to make sure.
Yeah, thanks for
No,
asking.
but I do want to hear about this quantum thing.
okay. It's like the most amazing thing that's happened to me my whole life. It was, it doesn't, yeah, there's no comparison of stories, but, mine was just like 2 minutes of my life. And I've had a couple other like super intense, amazing experiences, but if I had to pick one,